Greetings, deceivers and non-deceivers. This is Insane Orangutan. This is Mark BH70. It is September 9th, Thursday, 2010. Saw a ProteanView video. He has some good videos. I've seen some of his videos. I like some of his videos. There's some of the things he says in his videos. It's interesting. They're short videos, unlike mine, which I think work a lot of times. I think long videos work too, but I think short videos work. I was watching one of his videos, and then it said, there was one connected to it, one link to it, called Atheism, Describing Myself by What I'm Not, open parentheses, ProteanView, close parentheses. A ProteanView video, Atheism, Describing Myself by What I'm Not. So I found this video valuable and interesting. I don't know if I'm going to dig it up so I can link to it once I upload the video, and that's fine. I don't need to link to his video, but I might. When you look at Christians back in the beginning, it was the same thing as what this guy, I think he calls himself Ed. This guy Ed, ProteanView, was saying. We don't, need to describe ourselves. I mean, if you're an atheist, and I'm trying to avoid the atheist-Christian battle, if you're an atheist, why are you describing yourself by what you're not? If you're a Christian, why are you describing yourself by what other people call you? A Christian was called a believer, or a believer in Jesus Christ, or a brother. The content was more important than the names, than the name, the candle. They were of Christ. Paul, an apostle, or I believe, what is that? A sent out of Christ. I think apostle means sent. It's also the ones Jesus chose. When you talk about primitive Christianity, and this is beyond some people, where they didn't have the robes, silk robes or satin robes or whatever they got, with the sashes, whatever they call those things, they put around their neck. I don't think that they came together in suits and ties. I don't think that they said we got to follow the King James Bible. A lot of it was just they believed Paul's message, or they believed Peter's message, or they believed Philip's message, or Timothy's message. That using the scriptures they already had, rather than saying one version or another version, they used the scriptures they already had. And they didn't really have, at least in the beginning when they were first preached to, New Testament scriptures, which we, hold as absolutely obligatory. That is it's a requirement to have the New Testament. It sickens me to think that we refer to the New Testament all the time, mostly the New Testament, for what we do, what Christians do. Those who call themselves Christians. And yet, what did they do when they became Christians back in the day, back in the year, or the years? They became Christians when they didn't have a New Testament. When they had no reason to think that what Paul was saying was right, other than that they were convinced. And, to me, you're defining yourself, modern Christianity defines itself by what it's not. So I would say my return to primitivism as a Christian is basically by what I don't need and what I don't want. I don't need the candles. I think lighting a candle is pretty. I don't need the candles. I don't need the robes. I don't need a Gothic building, so-called church building. I don't need a liturgy. I don't need an order of service. You can read George Barna and Frank Viola's book, Pagan Christianity. All the things that Christians don't need. What they do need is an honest heart about what real Christianity is, about really turning to Christ. And that's what is lacking. When you get into the debates of Christians and atheists, or Muslims and Christians, or Muslims and atheists, or whatever you've got, Christianity has become such a label. Like he was saying, he didn't need to label himself atheist for what he didn't have. And yet Christians so often label themselves by what they're not supposed to really be connected with. The services, they call them, the performances we have on Sunday mornings are unbiblical. They have no foundation in Scripture. It's a pretty flower there. Gladiola, I think. Could be a gladiola, I don't know. I'm just guessing it's not a daisy, and it's not a something like, it's not a daisy, it's not a black-eyed Susan, it may be a gladiola. That picture right there. We're so much defining ourselves by things that Paul did not define himself by. And we're not defining ourselves by what actually is a Christian. That as long as you got the accoutrements, the ketchup and the mustard and the mayonnaise and all that garbage, that as long as you feel you're a Christian, you're a Christian. And we're really defining ourselves by what we're not. He pointed out something that was interesting. We are defining ourselves, in this video, short video, he was defining himself by saying, look, I'm not going to sit here. And he does some interesting stuff. So if you ever see his video, get a chance to see his videos, ProteanView, ProteanView, all one word, is his username. Some interesting stuff. And it's just amazing to me how close-minded they who claim themselves to be Christians are. But why do we have a cultural Christianity? That was something that he pointed out. He said, well, because I'm in the United States, the idea is, well, that's a Christian culture. Whereas if I were Muslim, then the people around me, he would be Muslim, or the people around him would be Muslim, because of the culture of the society. And again, we are calling ourselves by what we're not. We're saying that society defines our religion, whether we admit that or not. We seem unbothered by the fact that it's just a name we're wearing, and certain modes of operation we go into, whether church or we have a Bible or read the Bible or pray, without thinking about Islam or atheism or whatever seriously, or that somebody else would have a valid point that would be of another position. That what calls itself Christian is fine with anything, just as long as they call themselves Christian. But I would have to differ with what he said on that. We're talking about society and Christianity, when it first started out, was not accepted by the Jews because they said, you're not following our tradition. This is too much of a change for us. But where Paul said, well, look, Christ has come, that changes things. Without going into detail in this video, that changes the things. If the idea, if Christ or Jesus is the high priest, our high priest, then what came before was a statute that was fulfilled in symbolism but not fulfilled literally. When Jesus came, he took the rightful position as the high priest from a Christian point of view. But it was counter Jewish society, Jewish what we call culture. It was counter Jewish society. It was counter the society outside of Jewish society. It began in Israel, not in Rome, of course. It began in Israel, not in Greece. It began before Calvinist, Arminianist, Luther, all these people whom we look to as a replacement for what Christianity is, just as we look at through the Bible. The translation, and in many cases a rather poor translation of what the Bible really is in the original language. We substitute the candles and the robes and all that stuff and the buildings and the religious rituals of some bread and some juice or wine, and it's become societal rather than personal. Christians were disliked in the Roman Empire. Christians were disliked in the Jewish province of Israel. And I think that's where I agree with Ed. And I also think that that's the way it is now, just like he said, but it's not the way it started out. That we who call ourselves Christians are supposed to, for one thing, are supposed to be separate from the world, not a part of the world, the people of the world. And that what is considered cultural was very counter-cultural, counter-societal. It was not cultural, and it was not societal. And those within Israel, and those that were Jewish, and those who were not Jewish, were against it. So then, how did it all start? This is Mark BH70, the insane orangutan, and I'm closing out this video. Thanks.